Hello, my friend, and welcome to the podcast. Whether this is your first time or you're coming back for more, I'm so grateful that you are here. I know your time is so precious, and I appreciate that you're spending it with me. And you have a super awesome guest that you get to listen to today. I am so pumped to share Jordan with you because I got an email, and I always like to give the shout out. Cher Hale introduces me to the coolest people on the internet. And I get an email from Cher, her newsletter. It wasn't like a personal email. And she and Jordan are like chit chatting in this email, which is so fun that I love that she did. And I immediately responded and said, Cher, can you please connect me with this wonderful human that I cannot wait to talk to? So, Jordan, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited. You'll find very shortly, I love talking about this. So I'm ready to get into it.
Well, I'm excited. And the topic today is all about rest. And like we were talking before we hit record, I need to learn this so much. I'm so excited to ask you all the questions. And I know my audience will really be able to soak up everything that you're going to teach us. But before we dive into all things rest as ambitious women, I would love to hear a little bit more about you so that people are kind of queued up to learn from you and understand why the idea of radical rest, which I just love the phrasing of that, and radical joy are the cornerstones of your business. So tell us a little about you.
Yeah. Okay. So, quick version. I grew up an army brat, and at a time when most military spouses were women, I got normalized to just seeing women burn out at a very, very early age. And then after college, when I started my career and at the ripe age of 24, I thought I could start a business. I'm going to
I
start a
love it.
business at 24. As a wedding planner, you go in with all these like, oh, it's going to be so easy. I'm going to work for myself. I won't have to answer to anybody. I had all these ambitions, right? But I wasn't making space to nurture them because I would burn out every year with my wedding season. And then it got to about 10 years of that. And I was like, you know what? Something's got to change. Something's got to change. So there were a lot of strategic shifts that happened to make the work sustainable. Um, and I'd moved prior to the pandemic. I'd moved into kind of like an educational space for the industry. And I realized like this is actually what I really want to be helping people with because, you know, when you rest, you can dream.
Ooh,
You know what I
I
mean?
love that.
And it's hard to dream. It's hard to feed your vision. It's hard to sustain your vision when you are not taking care of yourself. And I just want to give like a quick like little note from my very last wedding that I had. I usually would get like a little, I would get thanks from the couple or whatever, but not all the time would I get a moment during the reception where they're like, Jordan, thank you. Last couple, perfect wedding, beautiful wedding. It was like a movie. I loved Levi and Jimmy so much. And there, at some point during the reception, they're like, Levi was like, "Where's Jordan? Jordan, where are you?" And I was like hiding in the shadows, like I usually do, because it's whatever. It's not about me. They bring me out. A lot of their friends and family are like theater folks, and they give me a round of applause, and I'm just like not holding it together well. I'm just like, think if you didn't know me, it looked really sweet. I'm tearful, and then I like scurried away, and then I had like I don't want to call it a panic attack because it felt like something different. But the bartender was like, "Are you okay? Do you want some water?" Like rubbing my back because I'm just like, ah. Reason I bring this up was because it was those weddings had been postponed. I'd already rebranded into like this radical joy coach space. And at that moment, that last wedding, I realized as a wedding planner, I could have proxy to other people's joy. But if I'm
Mm.
calling myself a radical joy coach, there is no longer an excuse and there's no longer a way to hide from prioritizing my own.
Ooh.
Yeah. So that's kind of like the background of how I went from like burnout is normal. It's so normal to be an ambitious woman and be burned out to something has to shift if I want this to be sustainable to it's a joy and a blessing to be able to sustain yourself and also center your joy.
Beautifully said. And I love that. Thank you for sharing about that last wedding and just how powerful that was, because I think it's so interesting to think about all, the two of us talking and everyone listening. We're all very ambitious and we're helping other people. That's a common thread that I have with clients and listeners is we're doing something that really means something to us. And so to witness that and to see it is so beautiful. And we love it so much so that we suck at resting because we love the thing that we're doing so much. And it's like this blessing and a curse. You even use that word, like it was such a blessing, It's a blessing and a curse because it allows us to be great at what we do. And the curse side is we don't want to stop doing it. And so how did you navigate that feeling and now helping others, both organizations as well as individuals, helping people balance? And I kind of hate the word balance because it's not like integration is usually a better word for it, but having those two things together, doing what you love, but also having rest included in that as well.
For me, when I was regularly burning myself out, rest felt like which I think is where a lot of people kind of start. Sorry, that's my dog in the background.
It's okay.
Just coughing up something. When I first kind of approached it, it felt aspirational. It felt like optional. It felt like something like leisure, like a fun thing a leisurely lady would do. But like, I've got stuff to do, so I can't. I've got things to do. I've got people to help. Like, I don't need to do that. Like, That's kind of how the approach was. But what I'm hoping will help everybody listening, because this is kind of where this all came from, was shifting my perspective as rest as a separate thing from productivity. And recognizing that rest does not exist without productivity, productivity does not exist without rest. They both need each other. So you're not really being productive when you're burning yourself out. You're just burning yourself out. And it's hard when you have the passion about something, like you really, really, really want to help people, but you have to ask the question of like, what good am I to a cause, to a community, to a dream, if I'm like burned out?
Mm-hmm.
How am I serving any of those if I'm burned out? And so I'm so glad that you said that about balance, because I also hate that word.
No, it's a tough one.
Because I think people think of it as like static balance, 50 over here, 50 over here. But if you've ever, if you've ever seen someone on a balance beam, like there's tension, right? Or on a seesaw, there's like your scales, like it's very dynamic. So sometimes I use the word equilibrium.
Oh, that's great.
Or harmony. Because sometimes like your attention is going to one space more than the other, but it still works together. But just that idea of moving away from rest as this separate thing that I put on a pedestal that's very far away from me, and like one day I'll get there. One day I'll get there. And it's like, no, you need it now.
Right. That's so helpful. I'm really enjoying and just picking up what you're putting down today. Because I am definitely the person that needs to hear this over and over and over again. I can't just hear this message one time and be like, oh, I got it. Like, that's not how I work, because personality traits are thrown in there that I have, the ambition that I have, the love that I have for what I do. And it just leads itself into me almost looking at ambition and rest are opposites, if that makes any sense. And that's not the case. And I know that, but I need to be reminded of it, because it's almost like sometimes I feel like I can just be in this office and I can be working. And I am joyful. Like, it is not a stressful situation. I am thrilled of what I'm doing. But when I go on a walk, which was nearly impossible for me to like pull myself out of the moment. But when I go on a walk, I'm like, oh, I really needed to do this and I should do this more.
Yeah. It's so interesting how when you really give a damn about something, you just want to give it everything. You want to give it everything. You want to make it happen. You want to see your client successful. You want to see your business soar. Like, when you have a vision about something, you want it. You want to give it life, right? But how can you nurture it if you are not nurturing yourself?
I think I'll write that down. Thank you.
Like if you want to feed the vision, if you want it to grow, if you want to be able to sustain it, you also have to practice that with yourself first. And I think you talked about having to like repeat it. Like I literally teach people to do this for a living. I also have to repeat it with myself because sometimes it's personality, sometimes it's also just like adopted behaviors, right? Like one of the first exercises I ever do with clients, it's kind of like a retrospective of like, what did you see growing up from adults in your life around rest? And if they're like, I didn't see anything, like nobody was talking about that. Well, okay, what did you learn about work ethic, labor? What did you learn about that? And then when stories come in of like, well, my parents never went on vacation. We couldn't afford to go on vacation, or they just never went on vacation. Or, you got to show up every single day 100% the same way. Or the one I heard growing up a lot was like, you have to work twice as hard to get half as far. And then it's like, okay. And then one that all women can relate to is just this idea of like, we got to break this glass ceiling. And I remember asking this question to like my 11th grade English teacher. And I was like, okay, you break the glass ceiling. Where does all that glass go?
Oh my gosh.
Who's getting cut by the glass? If I'm right there and I'm just like trying to etch at this glass, I'm just getting,
Jordan.
you know what I
Oh
mean?
my gosh. I've never thought of that.
Yeah. Like who gets cut in that
A
process?
lot of people.
A
Wow.
lot of people. So like how can we think about these things differently, right? And
Mm-hmm.
how can we both hold space for a really diligent work ethic and a really diligent rest ethic? What does it look like to have space, self-compassion for both? Because
Mm-hmm.
oftentimes when you talk to people with vision, you talk to people with ambition, there's a lot of guilt
Yeah.
and shame for, I'm not even talking about taking like a sabbatical break. I'm talking about like taking a walk. Like, oh, I don't have time for that. There's no way I can fit that in my schedule today. That just like can't happen. And it's like 15 minutes or 20 or
Right.
30.
I know. And when you say it like that, I'm like, oh my gosh. And I'm like, how many times have I done that? So many. I can't even count that I've thought, oh, I don't have time for a walk. That means I need to go on twice as long of one
Yeah.
is probably what it means.
Yeah. It's always the moment where you feel like you absolutely should not be resting that you should. And the ways with which I say this, and I'm also talking to myself, because the ways that my friends will not, the glee that they get when I'm like, they need to take a break or I need to go like chill for a little bit, and they're like, oh, do you need to do you need to rest? Do you need to do that thing that you're always telling us to do? I'm like, yeah, yes, hold on, I chill, thank you. I appreciate the affirmation. And yes, I know, I know. I'm just, sometimes it just like sneaks up on you. But I think that the thing that I'm trying to think back from like clients' perspectives when starting to really take the rest seriously in myself
Mm,
is this idea that like it has to be this huge chunk of time, like this big a chunk of time. God, I think it was one of like the first like intro to rest classes that I did, and somebody was like, I'm afraid that if I start resting, I'll just never stop and I'll never want to work again.
gosh.
And I remember being like, whoo, I mean, that might be something you want to unpack with a really capable therapist,
Right.
which I am not. But also I think when you make something so when you kind of like dangle the carrot, you know, and put something so far away from you, it kind of becomes like this elusive, attractive, like forbidden thing. And we're just talking about rest. We're just talking about like, hey, take a nap if you need a nap. If you need to like chill today, take a half day. Like we're just talking about essentially being kind to ourselves. And when you reframe it that way of just kind of like, hey, I'm afraid if I'm kind to myself, I'm just going to like keep being kind to myself and never want to not be kind to myself again.
Oh my gosh. I love how you just like did that. It's not even a reframe. It's like phrasing it differently had a totally different impact. My gosh. I really like that question of, and I'm taking so many notes over here, about what are you afraid of with rest? And so I think this is something that I just picked up of something that I'm going to do is the next time that I think I don't have time, for the walk or for whatever, I'm going to ask myself, what am I afraid of in that? And hopefully see a change. Hopefully that will be the perspective change that I need.
Yeah. So one of the things, especially when I have like clients come to me and they're like, I want to plan a sabbatical. And I'm like, okay, that's lovely. I do it every July. And I'm
Look
like,
at you go. That's amazing.
You got to also prepare yourself, like, yes, financially to make sure that you'll be good, but also prepare yourself, like, mentally for that very reason of when you rest. I think one of the major reasons why people don't like the pause, they don't want the silence, is that there are probably some questions they don't want to answer that they can't hide from anymore when you slow down. Do I like what I'm doing? Do I really want to do this? Am I in the right relationship? Do I want to live here? Do I want to keep doing this? Like, there are some things that come up. And oftentimes those are things that we try to avoid. So maybe sometimes that overworking is a symptom of trying to outrun something. And when you rest, like, you're slowing down and you have to kind of meet it. And I wanted to give listeners this definition, like, anywhere I go, everything that I do, I'm like, as long as I leave people with this definition of rest, I feel like I've done my thing.
Okay,
so most
let's
people
hear
think
it.
like rest is sleeping. I'm going to take a nap. I'm going to make sure I get my 8 hours or whatever, which is still valuable. It's still a part of this. But the way that we define rest at the Radical Joy headquarters is rest is the energy, attention, and time you return to yourself. And we redefine it that way because, one, it's not just sleeping, but it shifts into something about like, what are the things that sustain you? And using the word return implies intention.
True.
How are you consciously thinking about sustaining yourself? About giving yourself what you need? Do you know what you need?
That's amazing.
Do you know what you like? Do you know what's joyful for you? What type of rest is joyful for you? And where is your energy, attention, and time going right now? Yeah.
That's beautiful. I love that. Of course, I took that note, and I really like that you talked about the returning it to yourself, because we probably give energy, attention, and time to other people.
If you're an ambitious woman, you give energy, attention, and time out like Chuck E. Cheese tokens, like you to your friends, to your family, to your community, to your parents, especially if you're caregiving, to your kids, to your pets, to your clients, to your staff. You give energy, attention, and time out. Not to mention to your phone, like it's just going out, going out, going out, going out. But how are you putting it back in? Because then it kind of starts acting like a credit card. We're like, you're making purchases, but are you paying this
thing off? Those interest payments are racking up.
Rack it up, right? So how can you return energy, attention, and time to yourself to sustain that ambition and sustain that vision and nurture yourself and be intentional about it, especially when you're busy? Because I think sometimes some folks approach rest as like, the absence of busyness. I'm never going to be busy again. Be for real. That's the one thing I ask clients. Like, we're not going to bypass reality, right? You want to be busy. You want to be booked. You want to have like things going on. You still also have to take care of yourself. So how can we make space for that to happen?
So good. So I'm curious, and I know that everyone is different. So I'm a big fan, just like you just said, like reality. Let's not bypass our reality. I'm a big fan on this podcast with my clients. Like, we're being realistic. We need to be honest with ourselves, which is sometimes hard to do. And so everyone's going to have a different version of what this looks like. And so I'm curious on two fronts. First being, do you encourage your clients, organizations, listeners, that sort of thing, to do this every single day or find a cadence that works for them? And also, I'm curious if you would be willing or have some ideas popping into your mind to share some ideas of maybe some things that don't seem like rest to everyone, but have been rest to some of your clients. Because what I want the person listening to hear is that everyone, like, we're giving the permission of what it needs to look like for them. And so I think if you have some unconventional rest suggestions or ideas that you've seen, that would be helpful.
On. It doesn't have to be every day. I feel like every day is something that people say to what they really want to say is like consistent, be
Mm-hmm.
consistent. That rhythm might look different for you. For me, like if I can give myself a little bit of something every day and I have a term for that, that I will connect to your second point, that's helpful, right? But I know for me, like my Sunday swim is like my thing.
I
I
love that.
absolutely have to have that. When I don't, I recognize like, oh boy, it's going to be a week because I can
Mm.
zen out. Like I can do the challenging stuff up front and then I'm just doing backstroke and I just feel like I'm in a cloud. It's just lovely, right?
There's something about the water.
Oh my
There is
God.
magic in the water.
Really?
I'm a huge fan. We also ended up putting a pool in our backyard because moving from Florida to Oklahoma. I was like, I miss the water. And even if I
Yes.
just sit next to it, it
Lovely.
helps me.
It's so soothing.
So I'm
It
with
is.
you on your
And
Sunday
also
swim.
having like the water in your ear and I don't like the thoughts just go.
Mm,
Love it.
magic.
Absolutely magic. I think that when you're super busy, so we have four like rest strategies we try to teach clients. And the entry point one that I think is really important for everybody to get is called, because everything is like school themed because I was a nerd,
I love it.
um, is the recess strategy, right? So recess was a short period of time. It didn't feel short when you were a kid, but you just have to like get out the energy for a little bit of time. So
Hmm.
where in your very busy day, your very busy week, your very busy month, can you give yourself like a small chunk of time to do something that's enjoyable to you?
I love it.
That doesn't mean you have to like roll out a red carpet or buy the biggest canvas to like paint your watercolor masterpiece. That's not what we're talking about here. You've got like 2 minutes to like an hour. Cool. What are you doing to, again, give yourself energy, return energy, attention, and time to yourself? How can you give yourself a little recess? Is that taking lunch every day? Because I know some of us are not doing that. I'm not saying
Right.
you,
It's
but I just
important
know
to call it out because
it's,
sometimes that is the thing you need.
or the thing that like you sacrifice because you're like, oh, I could send emails right now. I don't really need to like go outside or breathe for a little bit. A great example of this is I did a training last week where we spent literally only 2 minutes doing like a breathing exercise. And everybody was like, oh my God, in the chat, oh, I feel so rested. And I'm like, that's the point. It does not need to it doesn't need to be like I need to go to an oasis and be away for 6 months. It can be wonderful if you can do that. But like if we're living in reality, like if you've got 2 minutes, take those 2 minutes for yourself. Breathe. Close your eyes. Like journal for a little bit. Go outside, walk the block. Like these do not have to be huge investments of time. It's energy, attention, and quality of time. It doesn't have to be like investment of time. Your turn to yourself. Second thing, one of the models that we pull from because I freaking love it and I think it's so helpful for people. Dr. Sandra Dalton Smith researched and developed 7 kinds of rest. So I always forget one off the top, but we're gonna try and get through this. Spiritual, social, sensory, which is my favorite, emotional, mental, creative, and physical. I did
Look
it.
at you.
Look at me, I got all 7. I have to do the S's all together. That's where I usually
It
mess up.
makes sense.
But figuring out like what fits in those buckets, and of course, like for me, a swim is sensory rest, it is physical rest, it is mental rest, and low key it's spiritual rest too, right?
Right.
So you can kind of batch those together. But some fun things that like might not seem restful for people. Sorry. I had a client who's a metalhead, which I was like, I don't get it, but I love that
Right.
for you.
You do you.
You do you, software developer and a app, like you would not be able to tell that they're like a metalhead. Like they cut all their hair and stuff off. But like he would just need to like mosh like every 2 weeks. He needed to go to a show and just like thrash that head and have his
Do
feeling.
the thing.
And I was like, cool, because for him it was social rest. You get to be around a community of other people who like get it. Mental rest, just like really enjoying physical rest. Cool. But I remember being like, hey, I'm not going to yuck your yum. If that's the thing that makes you feel like joyful at the end of it, and that's really the trick. sometimes are there days where I'm like, I really need to go to sleep. Okay, okay. I don't necessarily feel joyful about that, but oftentimes we do the rest that helps us decompress. But like the second really pivotal, like important part that we miss is like what's generative, what's joyful. That's how you know, like, okay, I'm getting the rest that I really, 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 really need. Is you need a night out with your girls. You need to be out in nature and like in a public park or even just outside your house, like whatever that looks like. I've had people roller skate, go back to like the roller skate rink nights, like with their partner. Like that was a thing, which I just think is the most precious thing. And this was a 72-year-old woman, like,
My gosh,
which
that makes it even better.
cute. That is so cute. I've had a lot of roller skating actually. I've had somebody who's actually like got back into roller derby.
Oh, wow. That's way more aggressive,
They
but
were in
that's what they
HR, so
need.
that made sense to me. I was like, yeah, you need to get some frustration out. Like, go ahead and throw
Okay.
some bows if you need it. Um,
I mean,
but
there's like
also,
axe throwing now or like glass breaking or whatever it is. I
yes, like
haven't, this is
the
not my version of
plates.
rest. So the noise would bother
Okay.
me a little bit more, but people love it.
Yeah, I am very spa.
Same. I need quiet.
I need quiet. I need calm. I
And the
need like
senses, to your point of like the smells. I don't know
the
about you, but I'm like,
smells. Sensory
give,
rest,
yes, the
the
sensory rest. That's all about
aromatherapy,
where I am.
the low lighting. And like an example of like a mini version of that is like, yeah, you probably can't go to the spa every day. It'd be lovely if you could. But maybe you dim the lights a little bit when you're taking a shower and like an infuser or something is all going on in
Yeah.
the background. Like you can give yourself a little hint of that. I had an ED from immigration reform nonprofit last year. Like this big dude. He started a garden
I love that.
and it was like a big thing for him. He loved it so much. So yeah, I feel like you can find whatever is generative to you that gives you energy, attention, and time. It doesn't have to be defined by me or anybody else. Bless you, Duchess. I love my dog.
I love that your dog's name is Duchess.
I should have kept her name Justice. Because Duchess, she's like, oh yeah, I'm a little diva.
I mean, it's so cute though. It's so
She
cute.
knows it. That's the problem. She
I
knows she's
mean,
cute.
dogs are great.
But they really are. Giving yourself that energy, attention, and time, being intentional about it, right? Being realistic about it too. Like if you're busy, if you're in a season where like you are knocking things out, looking at your schedule, and that might be something you want to do today.
Okay.
Look at your schedule, and I want you to find 5 minutes in your week.
I
Put
mean,
something
five
in your
minutes in a week. I
calendar.
was prepared for you to say 5 minutes today.
5 minutes today if you want. 5 minutes in your week. I'm going to give you grace and self compassion here.
I love it.
Find 5 minutes and think about what feels good to you. What
And I
feels good
really
to you?
like the idea of like asking yourself what gives you joy, like taking, instead of saying what gives me rest, what gives me joy. Because I think I've learned that prioritizing having lunch or coffee or something with my friends every so often is so important that I make sure to carve out time and to do it. I don't do it every single week,
Yeah, it doesn't
but
have to be.
it gives me so much joy. But the 5 minutes, I could do a walk and talk with my phone, with like take my phone and talk to one of my friends. It brings me joy and gets my butt outside.
Yeah. And multitasking, like I call it batching, like finding that thing that you can do that gives you multiple little hits of rest, do it.
Yeah.
But find 5 minutes, ask yourself what feels good, joyful, generative, fills you up. And then go do that thing for 5 minutes and see how you feel on the other side of it. It's simple, not easy, but it's simple. And knowing that it's something that you can always return to, even when you're busy, even when you feel like, oh, there's just no way. There is. There is.
Oh my gosh. This is fantastic. I took so many notes. Jordan, you are wonderful. And I know that everyone is going to want to sprint to learn more from you on this. They are not going to rest on that. They are going to run to you. So please tell everyone where they can sign up for your incredible newsletter with so many
Yeah.
tips and so many things that I am already soaking up and enjoying, and connect with you maybe on social or wherever you want them to connect with you.
Yes, I am mainly on LinkedIn, linkedin.com/in/Jordan Maney. You can get on my newsletter. We call it the Rest Stop. I know, so corny.
So cute.
Cute, so corny, where I send out a weekly rest reminder like,
We need
hey,
them.
I'm in your inbox. Let's just chill for a moment. You can sign up for that. And also, we do a monthly class called Rest Lab 101, where you can learn kind of an expanded version of what we talked about today. And we also have a monthly guided community rest session, which is free to everybody on our email list. And we go through one of the 7 kinds of rest, and sometimes we just color together. That's creative rest, and it's fun. Just have a
That's
good
so
old time.
amazing.
Right?
We're new friends, so I have not seen
Yeah.
that come about yet. I will be at the next one if I can. That is
Yes.
so fun.
Yes.
I will make sure that I catch that one because coloring sounds fun. I have an adult coloring book.
It's so soothing.
Yeah, I love it.
It's
I
like a
even have
calm.
found the digital version is super fun for me. It's very fulfilling because I don't have to worry about being in the lines or anything. I just click, but it's so therapeutic still.
It's good mental rest. But those are some places that you can find me online. And then if you have a question about anything, just send me a DM.
Thank you so much, Jordan. It has been such a pleasure learning from you.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity, and I hope everybody gets to rest easy.
They will. I have no doubt. So, everyone, it's time. Go find 5 minutes. 5 minutes in your week. You don't even have to do it today, although I'm going to encourage you that you do because that you're already in the mindset of thinking about rest. And so I say go do it as soon as you can. But sometime this week, find that and actually do it. Don't just think about this. You know I'm going to say it, friends. Don't just think about this. You have to take the action to back up that intention. So make sure to do that and have a great rest of your day and week and keep being accountable.